I've been watching this morning the whole thing with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and wow, so impressive, so impressive. And like I mentioned on Monday, I had no idea the rights that I am, loving as a female that she had so much to do with. So yeah. Okay. So I, on Monday, did not do show and tell because I wanted to show you the gal's calendar from Wisconsin. Again, her name is Vicki Rollins. My top note, Vicki Rollins. And you can just Google that and get to her website. And I think you will absolutely love her work as I do. I think it's wonderful. I was out at Alden Lane and I was talking to Cindy about it, and she was all intrigued by the whole thing too. Okay, speaking of Alden Lane, um, we may have to move to a larger location. And it's one of those things where Suzanne and I were out looking at places, and I think we may have found one. We're hammering out the details, but both Suzanne and I looked at each other and we were like, we're going to cry. I mean, we love it here. And I went up to Cindy, and hey, Margot, I went up to Cindy, who manages it, and I said, I drew the short straw. And she said, you're going to have to move. And I said, yes. And it's one of those things that it just, Alden Lane is in my heart and in my soul. And so, when I went out and saw what Suzanne and Julie are dealing with, well, I mean, I go out there, and one of the things I love is it's a mile from my house. Yay. And Suzanne can walk there from home. And, but, and I told John this morning, I said, I am really upset. And he said, are you upset about the cost? I said, no, I'm upset about Alden Lane. So if you're ever in Livermore, California, this is a must stop place. They host Quilting in the Garden every year on the fourth Saturday of September, which would have been this weekend. So maybe even the timing's a little bit bittersweet for me too. So, okay, guys, let's take a look at some of your quilts. And again, you are astonishing me with what you are doing. So, the other thing, guys, is I went to the forum, and I usually just go through the first couple pages and grab. And there were some in there that just the photography was either too small or too blurry. So if I'm not showing your stuff, please don't have your feelings hurt. It's just I had to make an editorial decision. Nonetheless, it's a wonderful place to play. So anyways, this is Laura's, and I'm sitting there going, okay, Laura, you're a teacher's pet. Yes, you are. Making it bigger. That's one of my fabric, or actually a couple of my fabric lines. So, teacher's pet. Love it. The beautiful thing about what we just did is, number one, it's still available if people want to go through the process of the blocks that I did and all that. But then a lot of you really did your own thing, and that's very exciting to me. Okay, this is Doc North. Doc Noth. This is the front of her quilt, and it is extremely organized. I do like in the alternate blocks how very subtly, I think they're all pieced with the cave fabric. But then she showed the back, which I wanted to share with you, and it is representational of so many political things that are going on right now, and her feelings are just about what we have been through since COVID and all of that and other things. And I don't want to get into politics, so that's why I'm just going to leave it at that. But you could certainly go to the forum and read it. But see, what I love here is that she did not let any of that fabric go to waste at all. Okay, this is Katie Annie. And Katie, first of all, these polka dots are a kick in the pants. I would have been a little chicken to put in those black and white ones, but man, it just like, bam, it's fabulous. And then I really like what you did with the border. Really like it. You guys know I like it when the corners stick out, and you kind of reversed it, and it looks just like a big happy, like bang or something like that. So yay. All right. If you're still sitting on your blocks and you don't know what to do, go to the forum go to recent topics and look at finished quilts. That is what I miss by doing this online, is if we were in a classroom situation, we could be looking at each other's stuff. So now we have to go and to the forum. We have to extend ourselves to go there. Now, I just saw that one of you cannot get our newsletter. Always check your spam. Something else called promotion. And then there's one server that will not serve us up. And I'm hoping when John hears that, he'll come in and tell me what it is. For some reason, they do not want to play with us. And so if that's the case, I would open up another account like in Gmail or something like that. It's unbelievable. Okay. See, I just did Katie Annie, right? Yeah. All right. So this is M Swiss, and she and two other friends got together and did this, like tag team or whatever. And she sent me 3 pictures, and unfortunately there were only 2 quilts in it, but I know there's a third one of you. And I love that. Here's another one that was in her little group. And I love that you were using this as an opportunity to connect with each other. By the way, I love your Persian carpet. My mom and dad had beautiful ones, and I love them. Okay, so then here's another threesome. In my life, I have a friend named Janet Lyde, who was very involved with our Amador Valley quilters. So, okay, so Wanda, I'm going to have John come in and talk about that. All right, you guys. So John, at the end, I'm going to have him come in because he's watching to make sure people aren't posting naughty things. Okay. So then I'm going to have him come in at the end and talk to you about receiving the newsletter. Okay, so Janet moved away, and I know one of her sisters, Spooky, and how can you forget that name? I think it's like she was born on Halloween or something. And then also Cindy. So she got Spooky and Cindy involved in this. And I know that for a lot of you, this was really a challenging thing to do, to work this out of the box. And so I congratulate all of you for hanging with me. This is a set, Janet, that I really love. I call it like the zigzag set. And I noticed when I really looked at it that you have your zigzag or your lightning bolts or whatever you want to call it in rows of color. So this is a really cool set, you guys. To me, it's contemporary, it's fresh. If you ever have a quilt that you want to just make a little bit bigger, consider a zigzag edge. Okay, then here's Spooky's. And I actually thought this one was Janet's and the others was Spooky's, but I just texted Janet this morning and she said, no, this was Spooky's. And Spooky, she loves her quilt. She loves your quilt. She said she wishes it was hers. Just saying. So Cindy, sister number 3. Here is Cindy's. And look how different they all are. And I just love this, you guys. For the border, I'm going to say again, if one color is good, why not 2? Why not 3? Why not 4? Why not get as many different colors in there as you can? And then Cindy used the leftover fabrics to create the backing too. So how about that, you guys? I do that a lot. The only time I don't do that, the only time I don't do that is if the quilt has a lot of light on it, like the one behind me that we're going to be doing. I would be really careful about that because the color can go through the batting, especially if you're using like a polyester batting, maybe even a wool, something that's a little more porous. So I reserve crazy, wonderful backs for when I know it's not going to show through on the quilt. So speaking of the forum and going there, Barbara Black has set up a new topic area for us for the puzzle quilt. Now, how you get there is you go to the forum and then look for latest topics. And this time it came up as number 3, but there you go. And John, are you coming in? John? No, I think he's indisposed right now. Shoot, where did this thing go?
Where am I coming in?
Okay, I want you please to come in here and talk to people about why they're not getting their newsletter. Get in here.
I don't know why.
Well, I goes, I don't know, but I know that there's one server that does not like us. Who is that?
rr.com.
rr.com. Okay, and then somebody said, no, well, it's in Gmail and stuff like that. So what should they do?
Well, and some of them have said that they've checked because usually now Gmail throws it into the promotions tab.
Where do you find that?
It should be one of your tabs right at the top. It should say inbox, promotions,
Okay.
social, or something like
Okay, okay.
that. And once you highlight it and just kind of drag it over to inbox, then
You're going to be
fixes
okay.
that.
But even if you do miss the newsletter, it is there on the daily blog. The day the newsletter goes out, it's all there on the daily blog, right?
Most of it.
Most of it, 90%. We don't want to be pants on fire. So that's another way to go about it. Okay. Thank you, sweetheart. So I want to talk, the first place we're going to stop, on Monday, I did an overview of my sewing room, and now we're going to do in little different areas and show you how I do things. And I mentioned on Monday that when this was built, I think almost 20 years ago, my needs were very different, but it's a lovely space. Come here. Look who just came in.
Hi, I don't know where the thing is.
Right there. That's my daughter, my school teacher daughter, who was feeling punky and went and got the test, and she's fine. Would you like to talk about that?
So everyone says, it's like a Q-tip. No, it's like a toothpick. And those are two very different feelings. But it's not bad. And if you need to take one, just go take it.
She had to go take it because she's, with the kids at school and all that. And I couldn't go see Grandma D until she took it and blah, blah, blah. It just was a crappy cold. So anyways, so I'm saying that things have changed in my studio, all right? And one of the things is that I am just falling in love with Joanne Sharp's classes, and I needed a place to put stuff, like my sewing machine, like my fabric, etc. And what is one of the latest things? Joanne has a ton of different classes that she offers online. And let's see. And I buy them all, but I do the year one, and the year one is you get a book like this, and then every month she gives you some assignments, and I love it. Now she also is doing something that are like little bits, like $14 or $15 classes, and I just signed up for the doodle one that's brand new, but I wanted to show you this. These are two of my pages. It's so much fun. And see, like the sparkles on this side, I've got to add them into this side. And she's not about cracking the whip. She's about doing at your own pace and all that. With that, I have had the confidence to do things that I would not have done before. And I hope what I'm doing for you guys here is giving you confidence to do things like you've never done before. Today is my daughter-in-law Shelly's birthday, and what I do now is I make cards. And Shelly is all into gnomes and gnomes and what are those two thing that's there in the middle, mushrooms or whatever. Help me, people. And so she got this today. She's 41 today. Shelly, I love you so much. God gifted me when we got you. Okay. So anyways, let's get out of all these overlays and all that kind of stuff. And let's get over to the PowerPoint. And let me go here. Come on. Technologically, there we go. Okay, so this time as we go to PowerPoint, I'm going to share my screen with you. I think that that's a really wise thing to do, okay? So let me go to my PowerPoint and let me go to slideshow. And there we are. So there's my Joanne Sharp corner, okay? What was there before was a big long bookshelf. And so I had to purge books, and I was very brutal with that process. I saved books The ones that went were the ones that were filled with patterns that I will never do because I feel like I need to be my own creative. And I honestly don't even want to be that much influenced by other people's works. So I gave them to Rondi, who's often here, and then she gave them to her mini group, and they had fun, and I think the rest went to the guild. But that is where I work, right there. To the left, there is a little round table that I can put stuff on when I'm working, and the color wheel is always there, and I can see that from anywhere in the room. That's Joan Wolfram's color wheel that you can get at thequiltshow.com. Then next to it, I've got the colors that are in each paint tin that I typically use. I've been introduced to Schminke, which is top shelf. And then the left is a wonderful color exercise. Now, that roundy white thing to the left-hand side, I saw that in Robin's room. I've seen it in a lot of people's rooms. I got that from Michael's, and I can't remember how much it is, but is absolutely excellent for storing stuff. I mean, I could use that for my sewing things as well as my art things, and everything is right there at your fingertips. So let's go to the next. The little caddy that was in my office that's around the room, around the corner from that table, I also got from Michael's, and I have extra art stuff in there so that I can just roll it over when I need it and roll it back. And in a sense, it's a poor man's version of Jean Wells's, where she's got that beautiful baker's tray stacking thing. And if you haven't seen that, you might want to go back and look at that particular vidcast. But it's really great because it's movable, it's portable, and all that. When the room was built, I wanted closed closets for my fabric because, as I mentioned, like in Freddie's house and stuff, I'm just not that neat to have things on open shelves. So it was funny when the contractor was here. It was off about 2 inches because I knew I could get 3 bays across of the wire baskets, of which I'll show you in a moment, and I could only get 2. And I said to him, you know, if you have to knock that wall out, whatever, but I need to get 3 in there. So he came up with a different way that the doors could work, and then that would take care of the whole problem. So this is wow, that's blurry. This is the system that I use. It is a modular system. I can't remember when I got it, but where I got it, but I'm pretty sure you could get it at the closet store, maybe even like at Lowe's or Home Depot, but it's a modular system that is not cheap. But this is what I started with in my original sewing room too, so it wasn't a complete hit to the pocketbook. Now, they are wire frames, it's very important, and wire baskets. And they slide in and out. In the right closet, I do pretty much by colors. In the left cabinet, I do like maybe there's a solid section or an 1875 section, a CAFE section, stuff like that. Now, when you go to buy the baskets, you have a couple choices. You can get 2 rung, R-U-N-G, which is what you're looking at right now. You can get 1 rung, and you can get 3 rung. The 3 rung is, I believe, the baskets just get too heavy, because what I'll do is, like, let's say I need a green, I will pull out that green, those 2 green baskets, and have it on my table and then put it back. And no, they never look this good. This was for a book cover. 1 rung is pretty much worthless. You know, maybe you might use it for projects and stuff like that. For me, they'd never really used. 2 seems to be the sweet spot. And again, they're modular, and you can buy them a little bit at a time because, again, they are a hit to the pocketbook. Also, it doesn't go any higher than what I can comfortably reach. Here's my CAFE one. Oh, go away. There we go. The CAFE one with all his fabrics, and that's a major mishmash because I dig into that all the time. You know, I love his stuff. The other thing is I took this cue from Diana McClung. I have a couple baskets of just fabric. And so if I want to just sit down and sew, I can go to those and kind of just root around in them. One is the top one happens to have silks. And by the way, my silks do have a basket. And then the other are a lot of oak shots and things like that. So I loved that concept of Diana's, of just having fabric there to go to. I mean, I believe it was Victoria Findlay Wolf whose thing was 15 minutes of play. Just sew. I don't even care what you're sewing. Just if you're sewing nonsense, who cares? Just sew. I store thread in a couple different ways. One way is by the manufacturer and the thread. So in this case, this is Superior's Masterpiece, and it's a double-sided storage unit. So on one side, I'll have one set of colors. On the other side, I'll have another set of colors. I have one of silks like this. I have one of Aurifil like this. And so I know what brand I'm going for. To me, the brand is maybe equally as important as the color, depending on the job I want done. So hanging in here are my my Quilter Select threads. The top are the 60 weight. It's a cotton 60 weight that has a poly core, so it's super strong. And then you go down maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 rows, and it is the 80 weight that I use all the time, always exclusively in my bobbin. So those are probably my go-tos. And I just noted the bumper sticker that somebody of a gentler nature would have taken off, but nope, I love my attitude. Okay, and then in my office, I have all of my threads that are for embroidery. So I was trying to find a picture in my stuff. I couldn't find it, where William, he had to have been about 1.5 or 2, came in and decided to dismount all of those. They were all over the floor. And I couldn't get mad at him because he was drawn to the threads just like I was and am. But the sad thing that happened is, like when you're embroidering, and it's a pattern, it'll say, go to color number XYZ. Well, that's all off the back. So I have to figure it out myself, but I think I can manage that. As far as rulers go, I have them in 2 places. This is on my cutting table, and these are the rulers that are my go-to rulers, my most used rulers. And of course, they're Quilter Select. If you have not enjoyed these rulers, I just cannot commission you enough to enjoy them because they do not slip. And because they don't slip, some people were grumbling that they were hard to pick up. So we just made these little fobs or whatever that you can stick on, and it's removable. It's got like a little nipple on it. And so you can just pull it up and have it on the ruler that you're working on. This holder was made by Deanna's husband, who comes to my retreat, and it's fabulous. I told her actually I wanted another one. At my retreat, I'll tell you a secret, on the last night, we often give gifts to each other. So he stepped up to the plate and made over 50 of these for us. But remember, at Robin Maimoni's, she uses a baby bottle dryer to put her stuff in, and that seems to be working too. By the way, Deanna, I'm still pimping out for another one, okay? The ones that I don't use all the time, I just stack against the wall with my toolbox pushed up against it. That toolbox I got in Vermont. I was with Libby. We were at the Vermont Quilt Festival teaching, and we went into an antique store, and I wanted that. And so they shipped it to me, and I have found it to be a really successful way to store a lot of my go-to tools. Okay, so let's talk about the original table that was in my sewing room, the original messy sewing room. Again, it was from Home Depot. I got these. I think they were $39. And then we got a door to go on top. So my dad, you can see on the right-hand side, cut down a place for my sewing machine to drop down into. And it was great. It's high enough that I can cut on it. Again, I was on now an absolute poor man's budget. I had very little money to play with, so I had to make do. And it can drop down, and that's fabulous. But I would have to, if I were short, this would not have worked so well because um, I had to sit on a higher chair because the cutting station is higher. All right. And then I found out the way he cut it down is not necessarily the best way to handle it, and I'll show you that in a moment. He made a plug to go on top, and I can just slide goodies in there that I'm using. And then in that bucket there, I have all my electrical and stuff like that. So this is what he did. He then also put a hole on the right-hand side so that my wires could go through that for my sewing machine. Oh, and speaking of that, when we built this room, we knocked out a hole in the foundation so that the next people that buy this house could easily turn this into a master bedroom and run the plumbing through that hole. So if you are thinking about, building on your house, think about what happens after you. So what happened then was I had the very good fortune to take a class from Diane Gaudinsky. And you could see this is an older slide because I'm working on the 765 now. But what I learned in her private machine quilting lessons, lucky me, there are some perks of the job. The way my dad had it set up, my sewing machine would go exactly to the edge. Well, you really need a lip in front of it, okay? So that there's a place for your quilt to rest on. Also, note that it is backing up to those tables that my dad built so that the quilt can't fall off the back of it, because that can happen too. Also, I love how this is a horn, has a pull-out drawer, and that gives me weight on the left-hand side. Now, okay, so you don't have a table like this. What are modifications? What you could do is take your table, push it up against the wall, okay, and then put something like an ironing board or something like that on the left-hand side there to give you extra stability. That will work too. Also, beside my sewing machine, I often will put this little TV tray table. It's wood. I got it either at Walmart or Target, I forget. It's like $10, okay? And I had Jerry, my son-in-law, cut the legs down as short as they could go without wrecking the structure of the table. And then I just have my little sewing mat and my iron there. And actually, I learned this from Teresa in Portland. I love it. She emailed me the other day, Teresa in Portland. And I mean, Teresa, I know you anywhere. I love her so much. She comes to my classes and retreat. Well, when she would show up in my class, she would, out at Alden Lane, she had this little table. I don't know how she got it here. Maybe she went and bought it for the $10 each time. I don't know. But that extended her working area in the workshop. So I thought that was pretty cool. I do use an ironing board, especially like when I'm doing strips or the whole quilt and stuff like that. But like Ricky, I want a big, flat surface. So this is a board covered with batting, covered with fabric, and I just duct tape the fabric to the back so I can easily change it when it gets soiled. Also, sometimes if I'm working with fabric, I will iron down some freezer paper on top of it to help protect it. And what happened here was I pulled up the freezer paper and it kind of wrinkled it like that, so that's why it looks funny. The other thing is never, ever, ever put your woolly ironing pad on your cutting mat. The steam will go through, okay, and it will warp it. We're working on something at Quilters Select that is going to be a little bit of a solution for that, but just don't do that. And what is the expression? Ask me how I know. So again, now we're back to the design wall. I have to laugh. You can see now I'm running out of space, so I have yet another place to put fabric. Those are all my hand dyes. And I use Celotex, which you can no longer get. And I then covered it with a gridded flannel fleece type thing. And I got it from Eddie's Quilting Bee in Sunnyvale, California. His mom designed it. And the reason I'm not taking down the Celotex is because I think taking it down would be kind of dangerous because it is a caustic material, and that's why they don't have it anymore. So I'm just leaving it covered with this stuff. Okay, so how did I get it up? So I stretched the grid so that it went the same all the way across. And then I don't know how I attached it to the back, but I attached it to the back of the Celotex, and then it was liquid nailed to the wall. And what held it up while it was drying was we get big giant washers and put a nail or a screw, probably a nail through it. And in those cracks there, you put the nail and the washer, and it holds it in place till the whole thing dries. So that is what I use. But now I'm going to tell you, when we go up to the cabin, was I just have some foam core board that you can get at an art supply store. You can get it at a place that frames. And I think it's 4x5. I'm not sure. I put some brownish fabric on the back because that's what I was instructed to do when I was taking a cave class. And the beauty of this, because you guys, this place is really, really small. I mean, really small. I can work on it. And then when we get ready to go home, I take a picture of my blocks, and or hopefully they've been sewn together, and then I can just go slide this under a bed. So that is another option, or put it behind a door or something like that. I just can't say how important it is to have a design wall. And you'll hear me say that over and over and over. Okay, lighting. So first of all, the contractor said, why aren't we putting skylights in? And I said, because skylights leak. And he said, well, I can put them in like that too. I laughed, put them in. Okay, love it. So I told my dad that I wanted light that was pure, unlike old fluorescent. Remember, you guys, 20 years ago, okay? And I wanted to be able to operate on a fly, okay? A fly, like a bee. And so he chose these lights, think they're halogen. This room gets so hot from these lights. I would never recommend them. I would go to a lighting store and I would talk to an expert about what is out there now, because frankly, I don't know. I think in Lilo's book, there's information on this. But one of the things that we did is we took those lights and we actually put them on 2 light switches, and we also put them on dimmers, because before I solidly moved in like I am now, we used to have like a New Year's Eve party out here, etc. And we didn't want to be under these lamps that are like, like an operating room or something. So really talk to an expert. And at the time, for instance, for fluorescent lights, they cast a color off. I mean, there were different things at the time I had to deal with. Unfortunately, I mean, I wish, well, maybe I could get somebody up there. I would love at this point to have recessed lights. And I always said I'd had to wait till Dad passed before I did that. And now he's passed and I just can't cope with it. Okay, electrical. So here's the thing, you guys. My house was a 2,100 square foot house, and our electrical for the house was 2,000. I think I'm saying it right. When we put air conditioning in, because this house did not have air, we really maxed it out. So when it came time to the addition, it was recommended, well, not recommended, we had to put in a second box, all right? And the second box, I wanted 200 again, because you know your irons and stuff really suck in that energy. And the contractor said, no, we can do 150. And so we put 150 in, and I will tell you, I've had 0 problems with it. So electrical is something to really consider. The other thing is that my dad, I'm going to show you in a moment, he made my tables electrified, electrocuted, electrical compatible, whatever. But also, I put electric in the floor as well as in the wall. So I don't have cords that I'm tripping over when I'm walking around my table. And again, I did start from scratch. Okay, so right there is where he put it in the table. And see, then that was connected to my sewing machine, and the original sewing machine was right behind that basket where that cutout was, the left-hand basket. So I love that. And sometimes I don't have enough electrical there, so I'll put in like a strip bar, and then I'm just fine. There, this is the machine I'm working on now. Ooh, I love you. I love you. And the other thing in my room is I have things that I love and things that make me feel really good and connected. So this was a pond boat that my dad made when he was a teenager. And they had a place up in Raleigh's Bay, Door County, Wisconsin, and he would take the pond boat and sail it out there, for lack of better words. This was one of the first things that went up in my sewing room, and my mom really had a hard time dealing with it because she said, well, it's not quilterly. Well, you know what? I don't care. I love that boat. My grandpa, well, wait, the fish on the right, my dad carved for me. He really was an artist, you guys. I mean, very folk arty, but he really was an artist. And then pure maple syrup, that was from my grandpa's. My grandpa was from Ellison Bay, Wisconsin. And if you go there and you go to Ellison Bay Pottery, kind of go down a little dirt road, that was all my grandpa's property and his orchards and all that. He made his money from apples and from cherries, and maple syrup was just a wonderful aside to the whole thing. And I can remember when the last can went, and I mean, back in the day, I mean, those cans of maple syrup were like $7 or something. And I mean, we're talking 30, 40, 50 years ago. Oh, it was so good. I can't eat not real maple syrup. Spoiled at birth. This is a little itty bitty ring that I had framed, and that's my grandpa's. Because he was a laborer, it started as a big gold band and then ended up as just a sliver of gold. So you could see that, I mean, everywhere you look, there's stuff that is meaningful to me. I do not store my quilts correctly. I will tell you that right now. If I had do-overs, I don't know quite how I'd handle it because the space was not infinite. It was not infinite. And so the problem, I do have shelves. The problem with this is that you do get creases. Now, that said, if I fold my quilt, I fold it horizontally because typically my quilts are made to hang. Also, I have no issue with putting my quilts on the ironing board and ironing them. I have no issue at all. Does it look like that right now? No. So also in the guest bathroom that we never use, I put more quilts in there. So everywhere you look in my house, there's quilts. So last but not least, don't forget your precious. Take care of your pets. And that is Sparrow's spot right there. I'm surprised she's not in it right now. She is so old and rotten right now, she can't even get on the table. I have to airlift her. But she loves to be here when I'm in here. And I end with this slide because when it's all said and done, I just click my heels and there's no place like my sewing room or my nest or my studio, my home. So let's see what we can do to get back to the proper window. Go down to eCam. Thank you for your patience while I figure all this out. There we go. There we go. I want to go to camera. Yeah. So on, John, if you have questions, let's see, Alex, what about pool noodles? That's what she uses. I don't think that's an issue, and I think that's probably a good thing to store your quilts. And what I might do is wrap it with a cloth or something like that first because I really don't know what those pool noodles are made of. I will tell you right now, I am not cray-cray about everything. These have a life and so I'm just doing the best I can. And so I think pool noodles would be good. Weight of thread to sew blocks. Okay, so we're going to go over this on Friday, but I'll say it now. I only use my 80 weight in the bobbin. Always. It's a polyester. It plays like silk. It's very, very fine. And then on top, I use my 60 weight, which is a a polyester core with Egyptian staple cotton on the outside. So it's finer than the 50 weight that you typically use, which would be your Aurifil, your Superior, and all that stuff. The 60 weight just makes it that much finer. But always I use the 80 weight in my bobbin. I love it. Okay, let's see. Side table she uses as an ironing board with a cutting mat on top to make it slide.
Sorry about the side thing here.
Oh, you mean the table I got for $10?
Yeah, she does that.
Okay, so what? So I will also use my side cutting table with my little Quilter Select mat, because with the ruler, with the Quilter Select ruler on this mat, it slides, which is fabulous. So like if you're turning things and stuff like that, I hope that's what you're asking.
Well, no, she's just saying that's how she.
Oh, that's how you use it for that. Yeah, and if it's down lower, you're going to love it, right? So plastic drawers with casters with a piece of wood on top.
That's what she does.
If you have plastic drawers or plastic buckets and all that kind of stuff, be careful that air can get into it, because you can get, if it gets wet in there, you will get brown spots that you will never get out. So just be aware that it needs to breathe. Let's see. Anyways, good stuff. So what's up? You got another one? Two other things.
These are what they
Retractable design wall over fabric storage. Yes, that's something else you can do. And just go Google that. They're like pull down old-fashioned shades. Yes. Yes. And I think there's some you can even leave your work on too. Daylight. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's for the lighting, which I didn't know. Daylight Spectrum LED lights, 5,000 looms. Okay, they're probably $1 million each, but that's okay. You know, they last forever. I know that's to be true.
This is a suggestion.
Oh, purging fabric, how to purge. Yeah, that's a whole subject matter, right? maybe I'll save that for a Friday thing. I'm going to put that right here because yes, we do need to share. Oh, Container Store has the wire basket sets. Okay, so yay. On Friday, we're going to check this out, talk about value, talk about prints. I'm going to talk about how I approached it, and then I'm going to give you an assignment that has very little to do with baskets, but it's a good way to just get yourself in gear so that you get really good results. And what, John?
I told her that we only have about 75 bundles left.
And also, we only have about 75 bundles left of that, okay? So you, but again, you don't have to get you can use your own stuff. This isn't like you have to buy to play with us. This is free for the world. This is, let's just sew together and have a great time. I like that Lou said, purging fabric. So that's what Margot Clabo does. So you guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you Friday, okay?